And I've basically come here today to give you a brief overview of the services and the resources that are available to you through the library. I'm also going to give you some tips on how to do a search, a search for the literature without actually doing a literature search proper. And then after that, I'm going to give you a demonstration of a full-blown literature search, just to show you the process. For many of you, it will be a refresher. For some of you, it might be an introduction, but it's just so you know, to see how we do it, and also to know who to ask if you have any problems, how to contact us. So if you have any questions, you can ask them as we go along, or save them until the end. I think there should be some time at the end to deal with the questions. But I'd love to if you have any questions, do let me know, either during the session or at the end. Okay, I'm going to make a start now. Hopefully everyone's here. So first of all, I'm just going to go through how to find us if you are going to come to the library for face-to-face. So we've got two library sites. At the Royal, we have the library that's 24-hour access, and for that reason, all the books are kept there. Okay, but the other library, which is probably the one you're more likely to go to, is at Aintree Hospital and the Clinical Sciences Centre, and that is open 8 till 8, Mondays to Fridays. At the moment, we are hoping to get out of hours access for this building as well. But if you do want any books from the Royal, you can request them. We can bring them over for you to pick up at Aintree. That's no problem at all. And there is also at Broadmean Hospital, there's also a computer room, study space in Kent Lodge, but we don't monitor that. We're not there as staff. So mainly it's the Royal and Aintree Hospital that you have access to. Okay. Now, for most of you, you're going to go to the library through our website, so you're far too busy to come in person. So there's an address there for the library website, but we find the easiest way to do it is just to Google Luft Library. Luft is Liverpool University Hospitals Foundation Trust. If you type in Luft Library in Google, we're the first set of results that appear, and this is what our library looks like on the website. We've got links to all our resources and services under these blue buttons if you scroll down, and I'm going to show you a few of those today. But most important thing is to register for an Open Athens account. Hopefully you already have one, but if you don't, you can either go to our website and click on Register for Open Athens, or you can just Google Register for Athens. That would probably find the same form. And you can just register online and get an account, which will allow you to access all our electronic resources from home, from work, from wherever. So if you haven't already got one, this is what you would do. If you have an Athens account and you've forgotten how to access it, just contact us. We can easily sort that out for you. When you click on the form to register, a couple of things to remember is when you're asked for your organisation, start typing Walton Centre, but select it from the drop-down menu. Don't just type it in. For some reason, it doesn't put you in the right organisation if you just type it in. So select it from the drop-down menu. And also give your work email address so that your account is automatically approved. It normally does work for nhs.net accounts, but it is better if you can register from a work PC. You're more likely to get it approved straight away. But usually, as long as you give your work email address, you can register from home. So we just need to know your work details. So you fill those in and then click on register, and then you'll get a username straight away. And then go to your emails. There'll be a link in an email from Open Athens, and it will allow you to create a password. It's got to be at least 10 characters. It doesn't have to have capitals or numbers. Often they recommend just 3 random words. But it's not too much of a problem. Let us know if you can't register for whatever reason. If you have an Athens account from another trust and you've since transferred to the Walton Centre, You can get it transferred over. We can contact your previous library for you and get it transferred, or you can Google Open Athens Change Organisation and you can transfer it that way. If you have an account at your previous trust using the email address from your work email at your previous trust, then you would be able to just register for a new account with the Walton Centre using your nhs.net. It's just you can't have your email address on multiple accounts. So as long as it's the first time you've used your nhs.net account in Athens, you'd be able to just create one for the Walton Centre. Hopefully you'll all have no problems getting your Athens account, but like I said, just contact us if you are having difficulties. And your Open Athens account is basically your kind of authentication system to make sure that the computer knows you are working at the Walton Centre and that you are eligible for accessing all the resources that we've paid for as a library for you. And that's giving you access to ebooks, e-journals, all our databases and websites in a kind of single sign-on system. So I'm going to just show you how a simple search would work. If you are on our website, there is a search box called the Knowledge and Library Hub. And it works a bit like a discovery service if you've used one in a university library. So basically you just go to the website, our website, and search for your topic in the search box. And when you click search, it will ask you for your Open Athens account, first of all, so it knows which trust you're working with. Once you've logged in, you will get a typical results page like this. So your topic will be, all the articles and books relevant to that topic will be listed. And you can limit to year or language. You've got links on the right-hand side to click on if you wanted to repeat the same search in a different website. There's quite a lot of things you can do here, and you can also make your search a little bit more focused. So, for example, you can change the keyword option at the top to title, and that will refine your results a lot more. And you can also conduct a PICO search, which I am going to talk a bit more about later on. But basically, PICO is kind of thinking about your search in certain terms, like the problem or the population you're wanting to investigate, the intervention, a comparison intervention, or an outcome. Those are the sorts of things, the concepts you're trying to think about when you've got a clinical scenario and you want to turn it into a research question. So, for example, if I wanted to look at pain management programs and how to maintain change, then I would just use the P, pain management program, I, intervention, how to maintain change, and then that will come up with a list of results. Hopefully that will have something to do with that topic. So if you get that list there, you will see that some of them are available as full text, and there will be a button that says PDF full text, or it will say access full item. So you can just click on that button and you will get the document full text straight away. Now, for some of the articles where we haven't got a subscription to that journal, you will see a button that says request this item. And if you click on that, it will show you a form with all the details of the article already pre-populated. All you need to do is type in your first name, last name, work email address, and just say if you're going to share this with colleagues or if you just need it for yourself for private study. And when you click on submit, that goes straight to us and we track down the article for you. Now, we have a network of all the NHS libraries in England, and so we can usually find your article for you within 24 hours. Occasionally there's a tricky one that takes longer, but normally we can usually find it quite fast, and there's no charge for that. So it's a really good service. So, please make use of it. Okay, so now we're going to think about our literature search topic. We want to see if maybe somebody else has already done that topic and summarise the evidence so that we don't have to do a literature search ourselves. So I'm going to show you a couple of clinical decision support tools, and these are resources where literature has been appraised for high quality, peer-reviewed articles and summarised in a nice, easy-to-use topic. So it's always good when you're looking for literature to start off with these first, just to see if a topic has already been written on your subject. So to find them, you go to our website, scroll down to the blue buttons and click on online resources. And the two resources that we have are Up to Date and BMJ Best Practice. You may have used a third resource elsewhere called Dynamed, but we don't have access to that. But Up to Date and BMJ Best Practice are very good resources. So I'm going to show you first of all how to access Up to Date. So when you click on online resources, the first link is to Up to Date. And then you just click on the link that says Up to Date website. And it will ask you for your Open Athens account. Always, when you're using library resources, always look for the Open Athens link rather than using the username and password you can see in the middle of the page, because your Open Athens link lets you access lots of different websites rather than just having a password for this website itself. So go to Open Athens login and sign in with your Open Athens account. Now, Up to Date is basically you can just search the website through the search box, and you'll see it's a really good resource. It's updated continually whenever there's new evidence. It's all peer reviewed. So I'm going to show you an example of a topic so you can see if you haven't used it before. So it uses type ahead. So say, for example, we're going to search for chronic pain. It's giving me options for management for adult and for other types of topics. So I'm going to click on chronic pain management adult, and it's listed all the articles, the topics that come under that. So I'm going to show you the very first one, the management of chronic non-cancer pain in adults. So it's quite wordy as a resource, but there is a magnifying glass in the top right where you can search for a specific term and see if that term is mentioned anywhere in the topic. So for example, if I typed in physiotherapy, there's 10 references to physiotherapy or physical therapy, and I can click on each one to see what it talks about in that part of the text. And you can also see that there are references hyperlinked wherever they've used some evidence to back up what they're saying. So everything there is evidence-based, and you can go and check the information that they've used. It's all linked. So if we clicked on that hyperlink down there, it takes us to those two abstracts, and there's also a button where you can try to check the library holdings and see whether or not we have access to it. Now, apart from searching through the text with the magnifying glass, you can also scroll through the contents like an online book. So, for example, if you're interested in CBT, you could click on the section about that, and that would take you to that section. And then you've also got really good graphics, which are usually at the end of each topic, and they're often things like MRI scans and diagrams, figures and tables. So I'll just show you this diagram here of the pain pathways. So that appears, and all you need to do there is click on export to PowerPoint, and it puts it onto a slide for you with the up-to-date logo on it. So it's all referenced, and you can use that very quickly and easily if you have to do a presentation to your team, for example, in a short amount of time. So I really like that feature of it. And then below graphics, you've got related topics. So it gives you ideas of other topics you would also maybe like to read that are related to your subject. So let's go to evaluation of chronic pain in adults. And there's a whole new topic there for you to look at with new links. And I just wanted to point out that in the top right, there's a link to CME or CPD points. So if you are wanting to do continuing professional development for your revalidation, for example, you can use this as a tool to show what topics you've read, how long you spent reading them, what you've learned from it. It's quite a nice little tool that you might find useful. if you need any help with using it up to date the CPD, I think we have got some literature on it, so we can send that to you. It's available as an app on your mobile device. So all you do is you download the app onto your phone, and then you just log in with your Open Athens account, and you have all of the information at your fingertips. So that was the first resource. The second one I wanted to show you was BMJ Best Practice, which is a similar resource. It's smaller, but it's got some features that are different to up to date. So we're just going to have a quick look at that. So again, on online resources, it's the second resource from the top, BMJ Best Practice, and there's a link to the website. And it's structured around the patient consultation and continuously updated and reviewed in the same way as up to date is. So when you click on that link, you need to click on login via Open Athens to make sure that you've logged in. I've got here my Liverpool University Hospitals login. You could just click on find another institution and you'd find the Walton Centre from there, and then it will allow you to log in with your Open Athens. So once you've logged in, you'll see the BMJ Best Practice website, a search box where you can search for your topic, or you can just go to specialties. So for example, if we went straight to neurology, clicked on that, there's an A to Z of neurology topics. So let's go to D. And then we've got discogenic low back pain. So click on that. That's going to be our topic. As you can see, it looks a little bit different to up to date. So you've got links at the top that take you to each part of the topic. And there's also a little view PDF link on the right-hand side where you can download the whole topic so that you can read it offline. And similarly to up to date, you can track what you've been reading on BMJ Best Practice and get CPD credits. So if we went from the summary, we went on to management and approach. You can see there that again, the references are hyperlinked and embedded. So when you click on a reference, it pops up there and then, and you can click on LibKey Get Full Text to see if you have access to that article. So if you wanted to go to, say, the treatment algorithm, then you have a pathway of all the treatment for that particular condition. But I did want to show you something else that is a nice feature of BMJ Best Practice. So for example, if we were looking for mild traumatic brain injury, if I click on that, there is some of the topics have a red C where you can add the patient's comorbidities. So you're looking at the treatment pathway for that patient, but if they have certain comorbidities, for example, diabetes, depression, dementia, stroke, heart failure, asthma, COPD, then you can tick those and it will change the treatment pathway to take into account the comorbidities of your patient. So it's a really nice feature that up to date doesn't have. So for example, there I've clicked on diabetes, and then it shows me how to change my treatment to deal with a patient that also has diabetes. And it's also available as an app for your phone. Similarly, you just go and download it from Google Play Store or the App Store, and then you can just log in from there. So you've got access to that away from work as well if you need it on your phone. Now, the third resource I was going to show you is not a clinical decision support tool in the same way as the other two, but I think it's still very important to mention. So I'm going to just show you the Cochrane Library. So that is like the gold standard of systematic reviews. It summarises the best evidence from research done all over the world so that you can have an informed choice about treatment options. So again, it's under online resources, and it's the third link called Cochrane Library. So if you click on that, and you can search in the search box at the top, or you can click on Browse Topics. So I'm just going to browse those for now. So there is a topic area, pain and anaesthesia. So if you click on that, you can see that there are 477 Cochrane reviews on pain and anaesthesia. that you can limit it to the last year or 2 years. You can limit it to type of intervention or topics. So I've chosen there chronic non-cancer pain. So I'm going to click on that. And then you've got, so that's 114 Cochrane reviews, and they are listed there. There's also along the top, there's 46 protocols. And then there's also, sometimes there are trials as well. So these are trials from the central controlled trials database. And they are not always listed in the databases like Medline and Embase. So it is worth going to the Cochrane Library and doing a quick search there just to see what trials are mentioned in your search on this website. So I'm going to give you an example of this first search on the results of this first systematic review. So these are usually very big files. There's a download PDF button, so you can have it all saved onto your computer. But there's often, it's the easiest way to navigate it is to go to the abstract. This is usually really comprehensive, and go to plain language summary, which is a really good thing to show your, for example, your patients or their families. Gives you kind of like easy English to understand the topic, and then without the technical terms. And then you've got your author's conclusions, and this should be really useful for you. There are implications for practice and also implications for future research. So if you were thinking about doing research into this area, it gives you ideas of where the gaps are or where research has been done but not very well in the past. So that should be really useful. And then the last thing I just thought I'd mention on the Cochrane Library website is this clinical answers feature. So it provides you with a condensed, outcome-focused overview of a Cochrane review. So, for example, if we click on that second article there, how does physical activity compare with usual care? There is a clinical answer to the question, and then it's outcome based. So you can see the different ones: pain intensity, disability, quality of life, physical activity level. So it's just something I haven't really used very much, but it might be something that you would find useful if there's a topic in your area there. Okay, so let's imagine we've done our search of the resources and there is nothing on our topic in up-to-date BMJ best practice or the Cochrane Library. That means we need to do a search of our own on the databases. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So before you even get to the computer, I know that the temptation is just to Google your question, but if you can think about it beforehand, often just pen and paper, just to consider the keywords you're going to be using, what's the synonyms, all of those sorts of things before you actually start your search. You'll find that preparation should really pay off. So, for example, what are are there abbreviations to this term? Are there different terms in the USA compared to the UK? Are there different spellings? Are there brand names to consider? What's the lay terminology? All these sorts of things are really good to consider before you do your search. And I mentioned Pico before. If you can use, I have like a template I show people, but basically you could just get a piece of paper and divide it up into 4 concepts, PICO. And that's where you get your clinical scenario and you transform it into a structured question, which will allow you to interrogate the computer in a kind of a better, much better, more systematic way. So to give you an example of this, so your P is your patient population or problem. Who is it you're looking at? What's your intervention? It can be treatments, it could be diagnostic tests, it could be exposures to something or risk factors. Is there a comparison, a placebo, another drug, or maybe no comparison? And what's your outcome? So is it cost effectiveness, clinical effectiveness, mortality rates, readmission rates, whatever. So that's your last column. We don't often put that in the search, but that's the sort of thing you'll be expecting to appear in your results. So here's an example of a PICO search. So we've got a businessman who travels a lot on flights, is worried about DVT, and has read that compression stockings or exercise can prevent blood clots. And he wants to know what's more effective. So if you divide up your subject, so your patient, your problem is DVT, and your intervention is compression stockings, your comparison is exercise, and your outcome is blood clot prevention. So what you would do then is think about all the synonyms for each part of each concept. So the DVT, it'd be deep vein thrombosis or thromboses, venous thrombosis or thromboses. DVT, it might be economy class syndrome. So you just think of all the different terms that you can that cover DVT. And you would do a search of those. Then you would look at your intervention. So compression stockings, also known as compression bandages, TED stockings, maybe flight socks even. So you do a search for literature, that intervention, and you would have a set of results for that. Then your comparison, it could be exercise and anything else you can think of, maybe physical activity, maybe flexing your toes on the plane, and anything that you can think of that would be relevant, you can add it there, and you do your search on that concept. And then your last concept, your outcome, is blood clot prevention or anything else that you would be looking at between, to compare the two types of intervention. So that's your PICO search. So you have your 4 lists there, and what you would do is you combine all your synonyms. So each concept would be combined, every aspect of that concept would be combined with OR. So you basically have at least 2 sets of results, maybe 3 or maybe 4. And then at the final result is you compare, combine your final results with AND. So you would use like your results from DVT and your results from compression stockings, and you would combine those 2 with AND. It will make more sense, I think, when we actually do the search, but that is kind of in a nutshell what we would be doing on the computer. So I'm going to show you now how that's going to look. I'm also going to show you a few more advanced techniques, because you can always search for free text or natural language, which is basically your text words, your keywords that you're searching for in the title and the abstract. But you can also use medical subject headings, and these are known as controlled vocabulary, or it's the language of the database that you're in, basically. So all of these, every article usually that comes into the database, for example in Medline, an indexer will decide what the subject headings are. So basically the main concepts of that article, and they will attach these headings, a little bit like hashtags on Twitter, so that whatever term you've got for that in the article, as long as you use the correct subject heading from the database's dictionary, you will find that article. So for example, say an article comes in that's known as heart attack, they mention the word heart attack. If you have a subject heading in your search for myocardial infarction in Medline, that will find the article, even though it says heart attack, not myocardial infarction. That works really well in one database, the one that you're in. But then when you repeat the search in a different database, there may be a different subject heading. So for example, in Embase, they don't use myocardial infarction for heart attack, they use heart infarction. So when you repeat your search in Embase, you need to use the subject heading heart infarction to find the same sort of results. So that's why we use subject headings for the databases we are in, but we also use free text, kind of like the natural language in the title and the abstract, to make sure that we can find results from any database. that way. So we always search two ways: free text and subject headings. It can be a little bit complicated at first, but if I show you how we do it there, hopefully you'll see that it's a really good way to get more accurate and effective results from your search. So let's go to the databases. They're again under online resources on our website. And if you go down to databases for literature searching, you will see a link that says if you need to carry out more complex searches. If you click on that link, it will take you to the databases. So we have 9 databases available to you on the NHS. If you have access to a university library, you will have a lot more databases at your disposal, but those are the ones that you have through your Open Athens account. And they're on different platforms. So, for example, we have Ovid, which has the databases Embase, MCare, HMIC and Medline. That means that you can do a search in one of those databases and then rerun the search in one of the other 3 databases without having to do anything else. You don't have to retype your search. So that's why we normally recommend that you start with Ovid, one of the databases from Ovid, also because it's very user-friendly compared to some of the other databases. So for today, I'm going to go to Medline and I'm going to do it on the Ovid platform so that we can repeat the search afterwards in Embase, for example. So first thing you'll do when you click on Medline, you'll be asked for your Athens account. And then the second thing you have to do is to log in with your Ovid accounts. Now, Ovid requires you to have an account to save your search. So you can do a search at this point without being logged in. But if you want to save your search and save your results, you will need an Ovid account. So what we normally suggest is that you make your Ovid account exactly the same as your Open Athens account so that you don't forget that your login. Just make it so you log into your Athens account and then straight afterwards you click on My Account in Ovid and you log in again with the same details. So the question today I'm going to look at is what EDI factors affect chronic pain patients seeking management? Okay, so we're going to search for some articles on that topic. So there are 6 different search methods here. The only 2 that we use though are search fields and advanced search. So search fields are when you're searching in the title and the abstract or another area of the reference. Advanced search is searching the subject headings or the thesaurus or the dictionary of the database that you're in, as I mentioned before. So first of all, we're going to go to the advanced search and we're going to have a look for our first concept. So EDI, rather than typing EDI, I've typed diversity, equality, inclusion to see if there are any terms, subject headings in Medline that fit that topic. So click on search and you can see there is a subject heading called diversity, equity, inclusion. That's what it's known as in Medline. Now, if you go along to the end of that line, you'll see a scope note with an I button, information about that subject heading. So if you click on that I button, it will give you a definition of the subject heading, and it will also give you what it's used for. So there are other synonyms that will also be picked up in your search, even though they're not exactly like diversity, equity, inclusion. It might be equity, diversity, and inclusion. It could be equality, inclusion, diversity. So all of those things will be picked up because you're using the subject heading diversity, equity, inclusion in Medline. So that's just for your information there, just to see. I normally make a note of the terms that are the synonyms to give me ideas for further searching. And then you click on previous page to go back. And then you have an option to explode or focus or to leave it selected. So normally we would just say explode your term. And what that means is it will look for the term diversity, equity and inclusion and possible any narrower terms. So it could be maybe one of those things, diversity on its own, or equity on its own, or inclusion on its own. You don't normally need to check if there are any narrow terms. I would just say just explode it anyway at the beginning when you're not, if you're not an expert searcher. I would just say if you click on explode, you won't miss any articles. The other option you can do is click on focus, where you can make this subject heading the main point of your article. So for articles where diversity, equity, inclusion is the main point of the article, if you click on focus, only those ones will appear. It really does limit your search a lot. So normally we wouldn't recommend that you click focus until you've done your search and you've got too many results and you're trying to narrow them down. So we normally recommend click explode and not click focus when you first do your search and the subject headings. So on this one, I've clicked explode and I'm going to click continue. And it's put the search history up in the top left. So you have to click on the down arrow to see it. So here I've exploded diversity, equity and inclusion, and there are 434 articles that have that subject heading attached to them in Medline. So that's the first part of the search, the subject headings. The second part is the search fields, and we're going to search normally in the title and the abstract. So you just tick those boxes, title and abstract, and it will just search for the natural language within that title and abstract. Now for this search, I did a little test and there were a lot of results. So for this search in particular, I'm just going to search the title. It just means that the results are narrowed down so that they'll be very, very specific. They'll only be where diversity, in this case, is mentioned in the title, not just in the abstract. So this one is a little bit different, but normally title and abstract is your kind of default search setting in search fields. So I put in my search for diversity, and then I click on search, and it's given me, if you go to the top, line 2, 80,865 articles where diversity is just in the title on Medline. So now I'm going to go and look for equality or equity. I've thought about all the different synonyms already on my Pico search. So I can do them as separate lines, or I can just do them all in one line using or. So I can just do equality or equity or equitable or equitability or equal. So it's going to look for any of those words in my next search. So I'm going to click on search there. That's 23,455 articles on line 3 there, where those terms are in the title. Now, the other thing you can do as well, if it's relevant, is think about antonyms. What's the opposite that you're looking for? So there's equality. What about inequality? How does that affect chronic pain patients? So you can, I've put in a search for the kind of like the barriers as well as the facilitators. So the barriers, inequitable or inequality or unequal. And so I'm going to search for those as well. 9,009 results on line 4. And then I've got another search here for inclusion, the inclusion part of my search, where I'm looking for inclusion or inclusive. Now, what I've done with inclusive, I've taken off the E and put an asterisk instead. You may have seen this before. It's a trick to kind of like a clever way to make this computer look for more than one word at the same time. So it will look for inclusive up to the V plus any letters afterwards, which would include the word inclusive, also inclusiveness and inclusivity. It's going to find all of those by the fact that I've got the asterisk on there. So I'm going to click search with that. So that's line 5. That's 23,000. And then I've got some more antonyms. So my opposites there of my next search, non-inclusive, spelt with a hyphen or as one word, or exclude with an asterisk, so we'll also get excluded, or exclusion. So I'm going to search for those terms as well. And I think that's everything I've thought of to come under EDI. I could also use an acronym, so I could say EDI. I don't often do that though, because there's often a lot of other terms that also stand for EDI. So I tend to avoid that unless it's 4 or 5 letters, like COPD or MRSA. EDI, I'm not sure how many other topics might come up that aren't relevant. But if you do use synonyms, acronyms, think of like EDI is a British term. Maybe I think Americans use DEI more. So you would probably have to do a search for both of those acronyms to find American articles as well as British. So we'll leave our search at those 6 different terms, 6 different lines. So what we do now is we're going to go and tick all of those lines so that they're all included in the search, and we're going to combine them with all. So that means that any of those terms can appear in an article, and it'll appear, and we'll get it in our results. So just one appearance of one of those words will find an article for us. So it's really important at this stage that you click or and not and. If you click and, you will be looking for an article that has every single one of those words in it. So chances are you will get 0 results. So we click or for all our EDI concept, and that's given us a lovely big set of results, 147,172. Don't worry, big numbers are good at this stage. Okay, so now we're going to look at our second concept, which is back to advanced search, and we're going to look for chronic pain. So I type in chronic pain and click on search to see if there's a subject heading. There is. It's called chronic pain in Medline. And then we click on the scope note, which is the information about it. You can see there's a definition, and these are some more terms that you might want to make a note of if you haven't considered. So chronic primary pain, chronic secondary pain, widespread pain. So we'll click on previous page to go back. And again, just click on explode, not focus, and then click on continue. And that should mean that you don't miss any articles. Sometimes it will ask you to choose a subheading, and you can do this, but it limits it by a lot. So if you're only interested in therapy, you could click therapy as a subheading, but you will find it's so small. I would not recommend doing it at this stage. If you just click continue, it will include all the subheadings anyway, and then you won't miss anything. So that's our first search for chronic pain, the subject heading. Now we go to search fields, and we're going to look in the title and the abstract this time for chronic pain. And what you can do is put it in inverted commas, so it will look for the exact phrase. So if you don't use inverted commas, it will look for chronic anywhere and pain anywhere, not necessarily the phrase chronic pain. So if you put it in quotes, it will look for that particular phrase, chronic pain. So we're going to do that, and that's come up with 53,241 results on line 9. Now, the problem with doing chronic pain as a phrase is, what about chronic primary pain or chronic secondary pain or chronic intractable pain or chronic persistent pain? It won't find those if you've got it as a phrase in quotes. So another thing you can do is you can use ADJ for adjacent, and you can think about how many words might appear between the word chronic and the word pain in an article and still be relevant to you. So for example, here I've used ADJ3 between chronic and pain, so that I would find it's actually with Ovid, it's 2 words in between, and they add another digit for some reason. So ADJ3 means that there are 2 words between chronic and pain. So you will find chronic pain, it will also find chronic back pain, but it will find chronic low back pain because there are 2 words in there. If you had an article that was chronic persistent low back pain, it wouldn't find it because you've only put ADJ3. If you change it to ADJ4, it will also find chronic persistent low back pain. Now, you don't have to do this, you don't have to use that system, but just as it can be very handy, especially if you've got terms like care in the community and community care. If you put community ADJ3 care, it will find community care and care in the community. So either way round in the sentence, but with those two words in between. So it's just a little tip that I would recommend that you use. Okay, so we can combine the 3 lines now. This is our chronic pain, our phrase chronic pain, and our ADJ3 adjacent in the sentence chronic pain. So we're going to combine those 3 with or. That's our second concept, and that's our results of that search, 96,058. So the very final part of your search is combining your results from your EDI concept and your results from your chronic pain concept. This time we're going to combine them with and, because we want something about EDI and something about chronic pain in our articles. So I'm going to tick that with and that's given us 108. So you can see even after all of those thousands of articles, we've ended up with 108 there. We can also limit it further by publication year, how far back you want to go, what language, only in English or in other languages as well. And you can click on additional limits to see age groups and also publication types. So you can limit it to case reports, meta-analysis, systematic reviews, RCTs. And then you can click on display results to see the abstracts. And here are some of the articles that are coming up, and you can select the ones that you want. And at the top, you can choose whether you want to print or email them, export them or save them. So we're going to export them here. You can choose Word, PDF, Excel, but you can also choose RIS or EndNote. So if you have a reference management software, for example, EndNote, you can send all your references to that and that would store them for you. It would take the duplicates out for you. It's a really good thing to have. If you want to know any more about that, let me know. But otherwise, if you don't have that, you can just save it as a PDF or as a Word document. Then to save your search at the end, click on Save All. And you can save it as a permanent search, but also as an alert, so that every day or week or fortnight or monthly, you will get an email where the database has run the search again and it's come up with new articles which it then sends you. So it's a really good way to stay up to date in your topic without doing anything at all apart from reading your emails. So I would recommend that you do that if it's a topic that you're going to be wanting to know about on a regular basis. And you can also repeat the search in another database by clicking on Change just above the search box, clicking on database that you want, clicking on Run Search, and that's now run the same search for me in Embase with a different set of results, some of which will be the same, but a lot will be different. So you can then click on Display Results and see all of those as well and save them. Okay, so that is your search. Now, if you don't want to do the search yourself, you can ask us to do it for you, which maybe I should have said at the beginning, but you are quite welcome to click on Make a Request and request a search from the team. So there is a button to request a literature search. It's an online form and you just click on it. It's 3 pages long. You just put your contact details in and tell us about as much as you can about your search topic, the synonyms that you can think of, how far back you want to go, how you want the results sent to you, that sort of thing. And then that gets sent to us. We are a really small team, so just be aware we ask for 10 working days to get a search sent back to you. But if you do need it urgently, then let us know. We can usually kind of accommodate you, depending on how well staffed we are that week. But yes, that's the form that you do, and we can do that for you. You can also request an assisted search where we do the search together, either over Teams or in person, and we can help you with the search if you want to learn how to do it as you go along. And a couple more things I just thought for keeping up to date. If you weren't aware of them already, we have some monthly specialty bulletins. There are some on neuroanesthesia, neurology, and neuropsychology. And if you press the button for page 2 here, you'll see there's also one on pain medicine. So you can click on that and you get a bulletin. Every month there's a bulletin. So for example, if we clicked on the one for January, you can see those are the topics that we have under that bulletin. So you can request to be signed up for that bulletin, so you get sent it, or you can come along and check it whenever you want to, or you can actually also ask if there's a topic that we don't do that you would like the library service to send a bulletin monthly on, then you can get in touch with us and arrange for that as well. So that's another good way of keeping up to date. And just a few more things to point out. If you can join the library, so you have your Open Athens account, that gives you access to all your electronic resources. If you can also join the library, it's good because you can borrow books, and it's not just the books from the Royal. We've got a shared catalogue of about 25 different libraries in the Northwest. So you can borrow books from any of those libraries, have them sent over to Aintree to pick up. But also another reason to join the library is that if you want to request any articles that we don't have full text, we make the request through your library account. It's kind of attached. So you end up having a history of all the articles that you've requested. So you do need a library account if you want to request articles. So it's something that I would consider, suggest that you do if you have time. And a couple of other things you might find useful. So one of our members of our library team has just finished his PhD. And so he is available if you need any help running a journal club, if you want help with critical appraisal, critiquing an article, or data presentation or basic statistics. So he can give you some guidance on those sorts of things. So that's under the button Journals Clubs and Critical Appraisal, or the button Support for Research. So have a look at those. Then there's lots of other things there. There's guides for you to look at, and the catalogues there, and frequently asked questions. So you can go to any of those and have a little look, or you can just email us directly if you have a question. And the very last thing I was going to say is to download LibKey Nomad, if you haven't already, on your home computer or laptop. So all the computers in the Walton Centre have this. It's a kind of add-on to your browser, and it just means that once you've logged into it as Walton Centre, then anytime an article pops up on a website, whether it's PubMed or BBC News or Wikipedia, the article, it will tell you straight away whether or not you have access to it without you having to look for the Open Athens login or logging in and seeing if you have access. It's just a quick way of knowing straight away whether or not you have access. So we just recommend, if you are doing a lot of searching and you're searching from home, to put that onto your computer. And I think that is basically everything that I was going to say to you today. So it's just a question of whether you have any questions. You can ask me now, or you can email library.service@liverpoolft.nhs.uk, and we will be more than happy to help you with that. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Victoria. There's so much information you covered there, and I, for one, am very glad it was recorded so that I can go back and look over things as a bit of a resource. There's some, it's really nice to hear a bit of a refresher on certain things, but also some of the additional things that are built into the library services and what we can access. And I'm sure people have found that quite interesting, and that the support's there as well. Has anybody got any questions for Victoria?
Not a question, just a kind of comment to say I think it's really nice to know that you can do an assisted search, because it's the kind of thing I'd like to develop skills in, but I wouldn't want to sort of, palm it off to someone else. I'd want to kind of learn from it. So I think that's a really good way of doing things.
Actually, John, I really prefer assisted searches because you're the expert in your topic area, and I can show you how to use the computer. But together, it makes it a much more effective search. If I'm sitting there trying to think, are you interested in this part of your topic or that part? It takes me a lot longer than if you're sitting next to me doing the search. So I actually really like assisted searches a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
And did you say we just did the request in the same way? Just request the search, but write in the details that you want it to be an assisted.
There's just an option of mediated, which means we do it for you, or assisted, where we do it together.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Victoria, for coming over. Sorry I was late. Thank you for Alison for starting the meeting. And thank you for allowing us to record it. We will certainly be saving this on our P&P shared drive so that everyone can go back. So thank you very much.
That's great. It's very nice to meet you all, and hope to see you at some point in the library. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.